Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks, where I'm bringing you in a little bit early on what should be a pretty interesting game of Beyond All Reason, a match that was sent on over in my Discord channel that features Supreme Isthmus. And as you might be able to tell, the spawn boxes here are overlapping. Indeed, any commander can spawn at any position on the map as you see these nameplates rushing around the place here. All of these comms, are going to be vying for control here of Supreme Isthmus, with the caveat that either of these teams can't tell where the other team is going to be spawning, and so essentially they're playing a guessing game. And it already looks like things are setting up nicely, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this little skip button and we'll jump right into this cast, where it looks like a whole bunch of enemy commanders are already spawning right next to each other. Lovely, lovely stuff. This is going to be a bit of a weird one. A bit of a strange game, not one that I necessarily have a answer to. For instance, it's kind of one of those, like, we're just going to have fun. We're just going to take it as it comes. We're just going to see what we can do about it. It looks like Legion was enabled for this game too. This is absolutely a for funsies match. The kind of shenanigans that I would expect us to get up to if, for instance, we were playing on the live stream. Those happens on Saturday, by the way. 12 to 4 PDT if it's a normal day. Otherwise, we usually stream if there's an event too. If there's a tournament or anything like that, usually we will end up doing something special on that day. A little bit of a longer stream. But anyways, Legion Commander of the Pot, going to be the blue team leader right here, spawning on the southern side of Supreme Isthmus, but also the majority side of Supreme Isthmus. Yeah, it's where most of the commanders have spawned here, interestingly enough. The red and yellow commander. Oh, look at this. Okay, cheeky little play right here from Raigeki and Mirror Zero, spawning on the red island together here. Yeah, what an interesting play. Okay, I kind of like it. So, obviously, spawning on this island is not something many commanders would think of. There's not very many metal extractors here. It's sort of a low-value area, but I think there is just barely enough value that you can get out of these metal extractors, and of course out of just simply being left alone, that you might be able to pull off something cheeky here. Go for a little bit of like an eco cheese, sack the commander, eat it up, and then use those wind turbines. Yeah, go for a little bit of a, an interesting little bit of an eco play here. I like it a lot. Check out the LLT wall here as Compound 116 has gone ahead and trapped Fiero GT, the hot pink commander, the hot pink Legion commander, in a wall of light laser turrets, and Pharaoh GT says, well, that's fine, I'll just go ahead and build a bot lab and break my way out of here. And so indeed, that Ballista medium rocket bot will be coming up here very, very shortly from the Hot Pink Commander, who is trying desperately to stabilize the energy economy, but is having a little bit of a rough time getting that bot out on the front lines. As soon as it is, of course, these LLTs go down. Compound 116 feeling a little bit better about the way that this is going. Purple and brown battling it out, and we've also got this sort of dark blue color firing away here as well. Looks like some ballista rocket bots here, the medium rocket bots firing away as well for the blue commander, the Pot. Going to be trying to get some value here against those aggravators. Hey, nicely done. Aggravator does go down to the rocket bot right there. Couple of lobbers out on the field here as well. Speaking of aggravating units, the lobber with tremendous range and extremely low cost becomes one of the easiest units to put on the field and gain some value with. Yeah, I don't mind that one bit. Cheeky little play right there. We've got a... Oh, interesting. Looks like we flooded this map a little bit here as well, as the isthmus in the middle, as you can see, is covered in water right here, as Compromised is going to be stepping forward and using that hovercraft lab to build a couple of these metal extractors. Interesting. Well, I will say, phenomenal eco start right here for the Seafoam Green Commander, and I think, yeah, you know what? I think this is an advantage overall for the blue team. The metal in the top right-hand corner would definitely indicate that, but I want to say that because basically they're uncontested on this side of the map. Yeah, for some reason or another, the red team basically entirely decided to spawn on one side of the map. The blue team spreading out a little bit, and obviously that comes with its own risks. But at the very, very least, it does mean that, yeah, the blue team can harass these bases, basically spawning behind them, whereas the blue team has essentially a standard front line right here. I mean, it's hovercraft, so standard with a grain of salt, right? But it is interesting to see that, yeah, the blue team essentially has a standard game going on here, whereas the red team is basically trying to keep themselves alive. What an interesting play. It sort of forces units out, rather, so, I think the big difference maker is going to be Raigeki over here. Oh, we're going to go for hovercraft. Interesting. Are we going for a boat transition, or are we going to use these? Oh, we're going to grab the metal extractors with them. Okay, interesting. Low key, the green commander here, maybe it's Low key, like a loogie. Low key here, the Green Commander going to be going into boats, eventually getting into the water here. We did have a bot lab and some construction turrets, so that's not bad. A slower way of getting into the water, but obviously you have to be a little bit careful, right? If you're spawning on this area and suddenly you have an enemy base just pop up right next to you, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. Swift charge, moving forward. Yeah, I would say swift charge, charging forward swiftly, living up to the name here. The Powder Blue Commander rushes into the LLT forest, takes a bunch of damage for it, but does manage to clear those out with the D-gun, and I think that's all well worth it. No more energy left for the D-gun on this laboratory, but eventually we'll get there. There it is. Laboratory gets D-gun down to death. Oh, a little bit of friendly fire on that. Ballista does hurt. Oh, no. Oh, those comms so close. Oh, the pot takes tons of damage. Down to just 21% HP, and I'm actually a little bit surprised to see that commander didn't die in that explosion. But is still very, very low and very... Oh, LLT, 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 LLT! Manages to take down the commander right here in blue, and that will be a fat 2,000 or so medal handed right on over to the red team. Alright, well, suddenly this game has stabilized itself quite nicely. By the way, Compound 116 managing eventually to kill the hot pink commander and hold this little lane over in the backline. That 1,000 medal or so that went back to the green bank account. Going to be quite nice to help boost out a bunch of units on the back here, and we also have the wind turbines at 19 wind speed. Means that this lab is going to be able to pump out units pretty quickly. LLTs to hold here, and this all looks pretty nice. That Legion lab would be pretty nice to resurrect right there. Get one of those Legion cons out, go for those T1.5 mexes, go for some of those Legion, very cheap, very high damage Legion units. On the back of a Cortex economy, sounds pretty good to me. Especially considering all our build power right now is just constructors, not necessarily actual build power. 1,000 almost flat total metal here. Okay. So it's a little bit of like, looks like the brown commander went down over here as well. Looks like the, the blue team now controls, oh, this is a 12v12, by the way. I forgot to mention earlier on, yeah, you might notice there's quite a few commanders here. This is a 12v12, so these comms are fighting in a slightly bigger battle all over the place. What a nice little run by over here, though. Yeah, phenomenal work. The Seekers making their way across the map here. This one to be reclaimed by the green construction turrets. Nice micro right there. From Loki, manages to eat up that, well, that unit and keep himself, keep his base nice and clear here. The Destroyer is out and actually struggling a little bit against the Seeker, just as a matter of not being able to target them very effectively here. With the surround bonus as well, they do a decent amount of damage. Decent in big old air quotes. It's about 1% per blast, but hey, if you have 20 of them and they're all firing, that's actually, that adds up pretty quick, and that's kind of the same logic for how ticks work as well. Is yeah, you make enough of them and they start to add up real nicely. But here we go. I mean, aggravators are being sent backwards to clear out this sort of this backlog of forces holding the background area here. But the blue team hasn't really taken too much damage. You know, I say that on the back of a beautiful little run by right here from Regeki. 64 open skill, by the way, for these big games. Yeah, manages to kill a whole bunch of these metal extractors. There is an LLT in base right now for this blue expansion on the southern side right here, and it looks like there are LLTs scattered around as well. Yeah, this Seeker is done for. Heavily dives the LLT over here. Oh, until it runs out of energy. Almost got a kill right there. But the LLT does have enough power to keep going on. Well, okay, I mean, as long as the Seeker are being aggressive and they're spread relatively nicely here, it's going to be slightly difficult for these units to get much value. Yeah, Seeker are kind of saying, yeah, there's not really a point in fighting you here. I may as well just spread out and go do a bunch of damage on the coastline. I think that's a great idea. Yeah, try and go kill as much as you can right here. We're setting up a floating heavy laser tower, the Coral, trying to blast down those hovercraft as they come on, and it looks like Compound is in a pretty tragic spot right here. We do have the Dragon's Maw pop-up flamethrower turret firing away right now, doing a gigantic burst of damage to that LLT tower. Now eventually firing here at the thugs as well, but those rocket bots are going to overwhelm it, and down it goes. Compound 116 running for his life. I feel like extracting the resources from this would have been the best idea, right? Just eating up all the metal, reclaiming as much of this as possible, and then just leaving. Yeah, going away. You can always pork up in this side, which is exactly what Scott-O-X, or Scott-X, or however that name is pronounced. That's exactly what they're doing. Untouched Commander Corps over here, by the way. That's 1,025 metal. Not bad. Radar tower here to assist the heavy laser tower. This is what the laser tower can see. You can see it can see only about maybe 75% of its vision in its range, or for its range. Means you need to put a radar tower. If you put a radar tower basically right behind it, it can see at its entire range. Makes for a very, very efficient static defense for relatively low cost. You can see this one, because of this radar tower over on this side, can actually see quite a bit further, that radar tower, revealing a lot closer to the actual range right there for the HLT. Means that it can start firing a lot sooner, means that it's going to be a little more efficient. in total, it's just better for those static defenses all around. It's the way that you want to use them. HLT is kind of the perfect sauce for dealing with a bunch of grunts that are pushing forward here. Maybe a little bit of overkill, but not the end of the world. HLT is kind of fit into a weird role. They're essentially an area denial tool. They're used to cordon off different areas of the map, and so oftentimes utilized in great numbers and to great success dealing with bots that are pushing forward right here, as you can see. Compound 116 trying desperately to hold this line. I wouldn't mind seeing the blue team invest more resources into holding this, right? Keep dumping metal into this so that the static defenses can keep going up and so that we can keep seeing this area denied to the red team. I like that idea quite a lot. The red team also stabilizing around a more consistent energy production, I will say. Consistently at about 30 to 40% energy production bonus over the energy produced here for the blue team. And obviously that can add up to quite a significant amount of metal in the late game here. Regeki already going up to T2 here on the little island with tons and tons of wind turbines and those E-converters churning out metal to fund all of this. Build power is looking quite nice here. Do we have the extra units enabled, by the way? We sure do. So extra units are a potentiality on the course of this battlefield. A bunch of thugs walking their way across over here. Not bad whatsoever. The purple commander does go down. The laboratory is torched as well here. And that means the green commander is definitely in a risky position. Yeah. HLT with 17 kills and doing a wonder to keep this base nice and clear. The thugs having a hard time, but at the end of the day, those rocket bots are going to eventually overwhelm the HLTs. Vehicles are ideal, of course, but there's only so much you can do. Sparing a bunch of vehicles to go push this back is kind of a risky idea, right? It's a huge, huge investment, and is that all worth it? Little commander trade I hadn't even noticed on the island over here. Looks like Matt Blatter is going to be the one to take advantage. Puts down a bot lab and gets a couple of res bots out. Are we going to resurrect those commanders? Oh, that would be too good. That would just be too good. We are going to resurrect them, aren't we? Oh, what a play right there. Yeah, Matt Blatter says, wait a second. That looks like 2 nuclear bombs to me, and indeed starts up a whole bunch of res bots and starts resurrecting those. We're going to get the mexes here too. Nicely done. From our Cyan hero on the blue team, who is comfortably ecoing up in the backline, by the way, going for fusion reactors, T2 construction turrets, even a T2 lab here, as tons and tons of metal flows out of the bank account, and we do get more and more of that build power up and running. Fusion reactor, quite nice here as well. Oh, and we even have a resource bonus. I hadn't noticed this earlier. Sorry, that's an explosion across the map. The orange commander is sacrificing his life to bring down the green menace. There's a resource bonus here. It looks like 1.5x income as this fusion reactor that produces 1,000 energy is actually producing 1,500. Means that these commanders are also scaling a lot quicker, which is cool to see. It's also one of the reasons why E-converters are so efficient. I'll explain this math once on cast. I don't know if I've ever explained it while casting rather than just on the live stream. But basically, you can imagine, right? If you get double the energy out of your wind turbines and double the energy on your converters, you actually get quadruple the resources out of the entire exchange. So it's kind of a win-win situation to go for that E-converter economy. So Armada benefits greatly from having even the slightest of eco boosts enabled on a game of Beyond All Reason. T2 Laboratory coming up, or already up and running, rather, for the Orange Commander, who did sacrifice themselves to kill the Green Commander, but has now since been resurrected by a whole bunch of these res bots. Are we going to resurrect both? It looks like we sure are. Yeah, one of these res bots or one of these commanders, rather, going to be resurrected, and hopefully handed off to another commander. Wake and Bake going to be the commander that this one was handed to. Yeah, one of those brown commanders in the back here. I'm not sure if this commander is paying attention. I don't believe Wake and Bake was... I don't know where he is. Oh, there we are. Oh, Wake and Bake's on the front lines already. Oh, that's interesting. Not entirely sure why we're giving this commander here. Maybe meant to hand it off to the character on the bottom here. I don't know if YouTube is okay with this name. Like, if I just read that, I don't know if they'd be okay with it. I'm not going to risk it, though. Sorry, buddy. I know it's just a name, but you know how it is around here. Platypus raiding the base right now of Wake and Bake. The brown base, anyway, or the forward base right here of Wake and Bake. Looks like we're going to build these mexes in the back, too, with a couple of Twitchers. Very cool to see. And indeed, we are going to resurrect that other commander as well. All right. So, what otherwise has been an insane game of Beyond All Reason on the Supreme Isthmus has turned into a relatively normal game of Beyond All Reason on Supreme Isthmus. Supreme Christmas, rather, that is. And we've got some bubbling bots sunk to the bottom of the ocean floor. Excuse me. The air went down the wrong pipe there. I apologize. Wow. Professional commentator, ladies and gentlemen, you're very welcome. The Platypus have done tremendous work over here. Wow. T2 Lab stays up and running, and Wake and Bake's commander still lives here as well, but the Platypus have taken down basically everything else. Anything less HP-ful than that has gone down, and it looks like a bunch of boats are rolling forward here, floating forward here as well. Metal extractor slightly submerged underwater, but still exposed enough for those frigates to fire away here, and the destroyer also shooting out into the distance to try and pop as many of this as possible. The Grand Commander, going for a ginormous navy, goes into T2 almost immediately. You see the laboratory sink right there down into the water. That's cool. I didn't even notice that before. That's really, really cool. Yeah, the Green Army, or the Green Navy, is looking quite nice here. Going into T2 is a great move. Obviously, you can go into that T2 quite a bit sooner when you're on, when you have 1.5x economy, but also when you have the T2 metal extractors up and running. Oh, look at that. We've even got the T2 wind turbines. So these produce 10 times whatever this number is up here, but obviously, if that number is 2.6, you're still only getting 27-ish energy out of them. I.e., it's pretty abysmal. They also, I believe, have the same footprint as an APHIS. Let's just... yeah. Same exact dimensions as an APHIS, believe it or not. Kind of funny to think about. They're very, very space inefficient, but they're very, very wind efficient, or energy production efficient. So it makes them arguably one of the best early mid-game, early T2 units or structures to build, eco-structures to build. Oh, there we go. There's some hot Legion action for you. Cacophony rattling off minigun shots as the the Legion Jammer geothermal anti-nuke drone platform, beard trimmer, back massager eventually goes down here actually quite nicely. Ooh, ADHD does fall. The Tan Commander on the front lines does manage to blast down a couple of those tanks, but does go down here. Cacophony still rattling off projectiles. The Sheldon eventually going to be the one to clean up this heavy tank, though. Not bad. Not bad. What is that thing called? The Rampart, that's right. Oh, and we can see some disabled units here as well. Looks like we've disabled nuclear bombs, and we've disabled the Starfalls, or i.e. the other LRPCs, and it looks like we might have even disabled air. We've disabled air entirely as well here, too. Okay. Interesting to see. Rocket trucks firing for it. Wow, this still has the Candy Cane update, too. Yeah, this is a bit of an older replay, but I figured I'd cast it because it did look pretty interesting, I will say. Navy moving out here on the southern side for the Pink Commander. Moves forward. And finally, all of this has been well stabilized. Again, this commander in the backline for Wakenbeak is so funny to me. You hand over that commander to one wrong commander, and suddenly you've got a useless unit on the field, unfortunately. Looks like a Cerberus geothermal plasma battery is going to come up here. It's the safe bet for Cortex commanders. Very expensive and not very production efficient, but it does guarantee that at the very least it's going to resist bombing a little bit better than an AGO, and it's not going to take out as many of your facilities in the process of dying as an AGO would, or a regular AGO. I believe the Rampart is still fairly explosive. The Prude obviously is not very explosive at all. The Cerberus lies somewhere in between, I believe. Wow. Stunned to see how well these platypus have done. T2 Laboratory falls, and so does all the build power, but there is a battleship out and running here, the Despot, firing away with its triple guns and its heavy laser tower turret as well. Had some comments saying, please, please, Brightworks, learn the difference between a battleship and a destroyer. Can't and I won't. Naval terminology never really made sense to me. I feel like describing the role of each unit made a lot more sense to me than just making up a name and expecting people to understand what that name means. Then again, I hear that destroyers are called destroyers because they were made to destroy submarines, i.e. they were called submarine destroyers. I don't know if that's true, I don't know if that's verified, whatever, but if so, I guess that is pretty simple, right? That I can't go around and say that that's not a simple way of naming things. T3 laboratory up and running. The Epic Commando, by the way, is a part of that T3 Epic laboratory. For the Cortex faction, we have a whole bunch of other Epic units as well, including the Epic Grunt, the Epic Czar, the Epic Thermite. Yeah, Thermite. Not the Epic Termite, it's the Epic Thermite. Or just the Thermite, I guess. That's actually interesting. I never noticed that was named that way. Epic Karganeth as well, and I believe that's it. Yeah, that's all the Epic units right there, and the Commando, of course. Definitely interesting to see all that. I believe we don't even have the shields yet. This is before the shields update. Yeah, no T2 Epic shields yet available either. Or T3, I guess, Epic shields. They're very expensive, so I guess you could call them T3. Battleships up and running now for the Red Commander. Trying to break the line with a whole bunch of these Paladin cruisers. We also have a Dreadnought battleship as well. trying to make a frontline force that can skirmish against this Green Navy, but this Green Navy has basically been out of production for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes here. Meanwhile, the duck push is building. The danger of the duck. And what a gigantic march here as the ducks trail all the way back towards the backline. More and more of these advanced wind turbines coming up and running as well here, producing quite a lot of energy. When the wind speed is high, these produce a ridiculous sum of energy. They're very, very efficient. Far and away more efficient than fusion reactors. In fact, I bet if we just click on these ones here. Yeah, 2,700 is about half the cost of a fusion reactor. And you can see they're already producing about the same amount of energy. Only when the wind is high, though, and as it drops right here, that energy does plummet. It means you really need energy storages if you want to manage to keep up with it. We do have an energy storage for the Pink Commander, so at the very least, that's not going to be felt on the energy crisis so hard. But it is one of those things you have to be really careful about, because as soon as the energy is gone, you suddenly are in a really tricky situation. Epic Tsar fires away and blasts apart those destroyers. Beautifully done. The Epic Tsar is a unit to fear. The Giga Tank of all Giga Tanks. It's got the Mega Barrel firing the Giga Projectile, shooting gigantic globules towards the enemy team. It also has 2 arm-mounted little laser cannons, which I understand are a necessary evil of the Cortex Corporation, as they're intended to blast away lighter chaff that can oftentimes cause this bad boy to do indescribable amounts of friendly fire. Just quickly, this is the projectile radius. I mean, you could fit all these tanks in that projectile radius. Very easy for the Epic Tsar to accidentally kill thousands and thousands of metal worth of friendly units without even necessarily trying too hard. Also, it's quite a tremendous range here, so as we watch it, boom, blow apart these units. 48% off a Mammoth is insane. That is gigantic damage right there. What on earth are we gonna do about this? Heavy laser tanks, the laser tiger is moving forward here as well. Very cool to see. One of those weird epic units that feels so basic, I guess, for a lack of a better word. It feels so correct, maybe is the thing I'm trying to say. It feels like something Cortex would actually invent. The Epic Tsar definitely feels along that line as well, but the laser tiger feels like a Cortex engineer picked up a laser turret and said, you know what? I can make this work. Let's strap wheels on it. The Epic Tsar to break the front line and the heavy tanks to follow it up. I love this play right here from the blue team. Excellently done. Meanwhile, I will point out the swarm. The heart of the swarm, and it's a platypus swarm, and they're flashing down any of these boats with their little twin laser cannons, firing away in a short little burst that does result in the ultimate death of any boat so unfortunate to be caught in the middle of this tornado of floating little units, floating bots, kicking their legs and floating forward. I feel like they really should move their legs a little, like they're kicking them to swim. We had a discussion about that in the 40K members event, which was very, very cool. That's all live, by the way, that live cast was recorded and uploaded to the official Beyond a Reason website if you'd like to go take a look at that. What a play, though. It's about 1.5 billion of these little platypus marching forward and taking out even the commanders, the bases, the shield generators, everything and some more, as the entire base goes down right here for both the orange and the pink commander, and those platypus aren't even done yet. The maroon commander in a lot of trouble here as well. Those those scorpion pop-up sabo turrets doing their very best to blast these down, overkilling a little bit, but at the end of the day, there's so many of these units moving forward, they eventually managed to pop the fusion reactors. Nicely done right here for the blue commander, the cyan commander, managing to get huge value. That Epic Tsar firing away into the distance here as well. Those HL arms, not turrets, HL spewers mounted on the side of that Tsar tank, doing a great job of blasting down these other units. That's like 4 or 5% off of a Mammoth is insane. Mammoths are relatively well known, well understood to have some of the highest HP in the game. Bird 1. Little wall cannon, by the way, or wall flag. Does pop up. Oh, he gets within range. He gets within range. 25,000 metal directly down the drain right there as Bard 1 manages to D-gun down that heavy Tsar, stopping its rampage in its tracks. The T3 gantry is in tons of trouble here, though. Will there be enough to shuttle this down? This reporter says no, not at all. These tanks are rolling forward, incisors, and now the heavy tigers as well. Moving forward, we even we even have an epic tumbleweed, the Giga Tumbleweed. So it's a ball with a nuke warhead inside. Very, very good. With the push of the ducks, the Red Sea has been reclaimed on the northern side, and it looks like we're ready to do a little bit of a push. Those ducks actually blasting away a whole bunch of this front line here. Ooh, those pulsars getting a lot of value. Not bad. Love to see those pulsars being utilized and managing to find their very effective mark. Cutting through not one, but maybe 2 or 3 of those ducks in one single blast. Very cool indeed. Capital ship firing away into the distance as well. Always awesome to see. And the platypus. I mean, what more is there to say? The platypus is a beast. A very, very effective beast. These bases have been well overrun. The red team now in a sorry way. Oh, Aphis in a lot of trouble, though, I will say. Yeah, Noob Slayer, the blue commander, the dark blue, almost navy blue commander here. Definitely in a bad way with this Aphis being targeted down by the advanced capital ship, the Epoch flagship, firing away with its twin cannons and, well, bursting down basically anything it comes across. Shield generator here holding out against the plasma fire as well, but it will only hold so long. Those shield generators are, shall we say, sorry in comparison to the firepower of the capital ship nowadays. They used to be able to hold off capital ship fire, but now it's very expensive to do so. Quad guards are up and running. Lovely stuff to see. The quad guard, one of those weirdly effective units. Yeah, it's just 2 twin lasers or 1 guard tower. But, you know, you build enough of them and they kind of work great. Allowing you to hyper-concentrate the effect of the laser tower here. Meanwhile, of course, the Epic Grunt, aka the Budget Razorback, tearing down the front lines. For just a meager 6,000 metal apiece, you too can have a Razorback at home. And I gotta say, I mean, that is some nice damage right here from the Red Commander, but is it really enough? There is so much metal being poured into the Blue Army at this point. We have so many units being produced out of a T3 gantry as well as a bunch of these T2s, spamming out those platypus like they're nothing, like they're just ticks, basically. And yeah, the blue team has managed to take down all of this. That lightning turret, or those lightning turrets, rather. Quite nice here. Eventually they fall as well, though. The red team calls the resign vote as the Epic Czars roll towards the back line. The back front line. They're never going to get a chance, though. Those grunts do too much damage. This entire base is in complete shambles. Away goes the red team as the blue team manages to sweep away the victory. Very, very nicely done. In what was a very interesting turn of events, this game ended up being a lot more standard towards the end than I really expected. But I think that hold in the early game from the green and, I believe it was, yeah, the hot pink commander, managing to actually hold the line so well. Or no, was it? I don't know. The blue team managed to hold this backline really, really nicely, and I think denying that resource gave them a huge advantage. That ultimately meant that this game swings in the favor here of our blue heroes. Thanks a ton for watching this bizarro match of Beyond All Reason. If you did enjoy, please feel free to join the Discord, which is always linked down below in the description section. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody, and I'll see you next time.